Hello, everyone. This is going to be a review of The Skinner by Neal Asher. Sort of a before you buy kind of thing, and what kind of book it is. So, first of all, it is soft science fiction, so there is faster than light travel. This is set in what's known as the Polity universe, Neal Asher's Polity universe. And there's a lot of polity books, but The Skinner is the first one I read. And then there's also it's part of a trilogy. The Voyage of the Sable Keech is the second one, and then their Orbis is the third one. But anyway, so it's the beginning of a trilogy, but it's quite self-contained. So if you decide that you don't want to continue with the rest of the trilogy, you can still get a lot out of this book. Like, the plot lines are resolved. I actually feel like the second book is a little slow because of how much this book has resolved in it. So you don't have to you don't have to finish the whole trilogy. Now, The Skinner. Things to know before going in. Gotta close my window. Things to know before going in is that there is a lot of horror. I would say pretty heavy horror elements. Not like, you're gonna be scared to go to bed at night horror. The kind of horror of like a lot of violence, a lot of gore, and a lot of sadism, and a lot of like really bad things happening to people. And what's interesting about Neal Asher, and what I like about Neal Asher, is that he can do that with a light-hearted tone and overall light-hearted characters besides the bad guys. But in The Skinner, the title is very literal. So you can have the kind of idea of like what we're talking about here. So the bad guys in this book are really bad. Like, really, really bad. And another thing to know is that there's an alien race called the Prador. And you are sort of, because Neal Asher's first polity book, I think it's the first one, was Prador Moon. And so that kind of introduces the reader to what the Prador are. And they're kind of already... I mean, obviously you don't have to read Prador Moon. I didn't before reading The Skinner. Um, but they're really messed up and really evil. So you have to... Well, evil is a weird way to put it. I would just say they're really brutal and cruel. So, and now, but the book is a light read. That's what's cool about Neal Asher, is that even though all this bad stuff is happening to the characters, it's still overall a light read, and like they can handle it. So despite all the terrible things that happen to them, like they persevere and they make it through. And there's some really cool... I would say the characters, I mean, this is sci-fi, and this is not just sci-fi. This is sci-fi from 20 years ago. And sci-fi is not really known for being character heavy, which is one of the reasons why I like it. And similarly in The Skinner, I wouldn't call the characters particularly deep. I wouldn't say that they're particularly undeep either. But, they're about middle depth, I would say. It does have stronger characterization than a lot of sci-fi. Okay. The characters aren't very deep, but they're very distinct. So you do have strong characters, but they don't necessarily develop so much. They just are who they are. But they are different. So you have strong characters. And then the main plot line follows a long dead policeman's quest to like finish his last cold case basically after like 800 years. And he's trying to find. So anyway, this setting. The strongest thing about this book, I think, for fans of sci-fi is the setting. The planet Spatterjay is awesome. And this is called the Spatterjay series because it's set on Spatterjay, which is the planet. I mean, it's the planet that all this stuff goes down on, and it is for real. Like, Spatterjay is sick. There's a virus that makes everything regenerate and doesn't let anything die. So, like, if you're infected with this thing, you're like almost immortal. And it really does a lot of strange things to people. So the virus is like a central part of the plot, and it alters people, especially if they eat Spatterjay food. It's worse for them. So like they eat artificial like dome grown food so that they don't go native to this planet. By if they eat too much of the planet's food, they start becoming a lot like, they start basically becoming almost monsters, or even monsters if they go fully native, because the virus messes up your DNA, slices and dices it. So anyway, Spatterjay, the planet, is infested with leeches. So leeches are like a common theme. The whole planet is just flooded with leeches. So there's a lot of horrible deaths in Neal Asher's universe. But like I said, it doesn't read like a dark book. It reads light. I mean, I don't know if I should just whip out prose, but like, you're not gonna. Some of the concepts are really disturbing, but at the same time, it's not like a doom and gloom kind of book at all. It's like the opposite of doom and gloom. It's actually like quite optimistic. So, and it doesn't touch. There's no like heavy philosophy in this book or anything like that. So, you're not gonna like figure out the meaning of life by reading the Skinner. There is the most philosophical part of the book. There is one ethical dilemma in the book that's really interesting. They basically have to decide whether or not this guy deserves to get the death penalty. And there's a lot of caveats to it. And a lot of gray area. So that part's interesting. And then I would say overall for the Skinner, negatives, the cons, well, like I said, it's not particularly like deep, or certainly not anything like life-changing. I would say it's more like entertainment with solid world building. So there's a lot more solid world building in this because it's Spatterjay and it's polity. It's much more grounded than like just like a popcorn book or TV book, whatever. But at the same time, it's meant for fun, so it's a fun read. And man, it definitely is a fun read. It's fast, like it reads pretty quick. The second book, like I said, slows down a bit, but the Skinner is well paced. The pacing of this book is one of its strongest aspects. You don't have like a dull moment in it. So overall, I rate this book highly. I think that its prose, I use it as an example. I try to copy the brutal but lighthearted kind of juxtaposition because I think it's really cool. And this is like one of the best examples of it. So, hey kids, you like violence? This book's got a lot of it. And it's, like I said, it's all sci-fi, so. But it's soft sci-fi, soft. There's, not only is there faster than light travel, but there's things like guns that shoot black holes and like things like that. Like, almost magic, But then there's also some things, some of the most brutal aspects of this book very much could be real. Like, they steal people's bodies with transplants, like brain transplants. It's really fucked. There's a lot of really messed up stuff that happens. So if you're into that like I am, then yeah, this will do you. All right. So yeah, that's the Skinner, and then I'm gonna go ahead and review another book that I finished a little while ago. I read really slow, so I can't really review that many books because I don't read enough. Because I write too. I have to write more than I read, and then I read slow. So working on Mistborn right now, and also finishing. My sci-fi read right now is this, and then my fantasy read is Mistborn. This is the sequel to the Skinner. So I'm still reading the sequel. I can't rate. I'll rate the whole trilogy when I'm done with it. But anyway, cool. Thanks.